I was alone in the hotel suite when it happened. Just another night, another party, another high. I had done this so many times, I had lost count. The pills, the lines, the blurred lights, this was my normal. I had just wrapped a shoot earlier that week, one of those kinds of jobs where your soul feels like it leaks out of you frame by frame. But I smiled, posed, performed. Money came easy, but peace, that never showed up. That night, I wasn't trying to die. I didn't leave a note. I didn't cry for help. I just wanted to feel nothing for a few hours. But something went wrong. I remember the room spinning like a carousel from hell, and then silence. Not just quiet, but a void. Cold, terrifying silence. I tried to scream, but I had no mouth. I tried to move, but I had no body. Everything I knew vanished in an instant, like a bad dream folding in on itself. And then the darkness came. It wasn't just black, it was alive. It pulsed and breathed, like something was watching me from inside of it. I felt myself falling, not through space, but through memories. Every horrible thing I had done, every lie I told, every time I pretended I wasn't ashamed of it, replayed in front of me. I wanted to shut my eyes, but I couldn't. I was being dragged down, and I knew it. Something was pulling me. I felt filthy, exposed, condemned. But suddenly, something shifted. A soft light faint, like a candle flickering in a tunnel, began to grow before me. And in that moment, I knew something had seen me in my shame, in my overdose, in my death, and was still reaching for me. I had no idea where I was, but I was about to find out this wasn't the end. Someone was coming. The darkness didn't just disappear, it recoiled, like it was afraid of what was coming. That faint light grew brighter, warmer, until it filled the void around me. It didn't feel like any light I'd ever seen on earth. It wasn't just illumination, it was love. Not the kind you earn, not the kind that's transactional. This love felt ancient, pure, and totally undeserved. And then I saw her. She didn't walk toward mesh, glided, almost like she was part of the light itself. She wore a flowing robe of deep blue, trimmed with stars and shimmering silk. A white veil covered her hair, and her eyes. Oh, her eyes. They looked right into my soul, not judging, not condemning, just seeing me, completely. Somehow, I knew who she was, even though I hadn't prayed in years. Even though I mocked religion, avoided churches, laughed when people talked about Mary and Jesus, I knew this was her, the Virgin Mary. Mother of God, Queen of Heaven. I should have felt unworthy. I mean, look at me, a porn star, addict, lost. But she didn't look at me like I was disgusting. She looked at me like I was her child. Tears filled my eyes. If I even had eye sand, I dropped to my knees. I couldn't speak, but everything in me was begging, please, please don't leave me here. She didn't speak with her lips. It was like her voice was inside my mind and heart all at once. She said gently, "My daughter, you were never meant for this. Come, there is more to see." She reached out her hand, and when I touched it, I felt warmth explode through me, like 1,000 chains had shattered. Like all the lies I believed about myself, how I was unworthy, dirty, used up, were being burned away in the fire of her love. And then, without a single step, we were gliding through the light and heading towards something far more powerful than I had ever imagined. She was taking me home, or at least somewhere I had never dared believe I belonged. We moved through the light like whispers on Windfast, silent, yet deeply alive. I clung to Mary's hand, not out of fear, but because I couldn't let go. I didn't want to. Her presence made me feel real, like everything before this. Every set, every lie I told myself, every fake smile and drug-fueled laugh had been a nightmare, and now I was finally waking up. As we moved, I began to see colors that don't exist on Earth, sounds that weren't heard with ears, but understood deep in the soul. And then I saw it, a radiant, towering gate. Not golden in the way we describe wealth, but holy it glowed with purity. Music seemed to spill from it like a river. Voices, choirs, harmonies that wrapped around my soul and pulled at something buried deep inside me. I stopped. "I don't belong here," I whispered, even though my lips never moved. Mary turned to me. Her face was solemn now, but not unkind. "No soul belongs here by their own merit, but every soul is invited. You were made for this place, even if you forgot." Tears streamed down what felt like my spirit face. My life flashed in shards again, me at 6 years old, crying alone in my room after my dad left. Me at 14, trying my first drug. Me at 19, doing my first shoot, telling myself it was just acting. Me at 26, dead in a hotel room. How could someone like me, someone who gave away her body for cameras and hid from herself behind powder and pills, be brought here? But Mary walked forward and the gates opened. And inside, I didn't see clouds and harps. I saw truth. People, not glowing angels, not winged fantasies, but people, radiant with something that pulsed from within. Some knelt in prayer, others sang with indescribable joy, and some simply looked up in awe at a blinding light at the center of it all. And then I realized the light they stared at, it was him, Jesus. He hadn't even turned to me yet, but I felt him. Like gravity, like justice, like a storm of fire and mercy all at once. I trembled. Mary looked at me and said, "You must go to him now and listen." And then she was gone. And I stood at the edge of a kingdom I never thought I'd be allowed to see, about to face the one I never believed in. I stood there, trembling not because I was afraid of punishment, but because I finally realized who he really was. Jesus wasn't just a name people yelled on set when things went wrong. He wasn't just a figure from a religion I mocked. He was real. And now, the blazing center of that kingdom was turning and walking toward me. His light was unbearable, and yet I couldn't look away. Every step he took sent waves through my soul, waves of truth, of memory, of all the things I tried to forget. And when he stood in front of me, I couldn't lie. I couldn't hide. Everything was stripped bare. He didn't wear a crown of gold, but one of thorns. Still. And his hands, so God, his hands, holes. Open, fresh wounds that didn't bleed but glowed, like wounds that chose to stay so I wouldn't have to bear mine. And those eyes, they held galaxies and sorrow and love so fierce I thought it would tear me apart. I tried to fall to my knees, but I didn't even know if I had knees anymore. I just crumbled. "I don't deserve this," I sobbed from my soul. "I mocked you. I mocked her. I sold everything I was a porn star. Why are you looking at me like this?" And then he spoke. Not loud, not thunderous, but like creation itself leaned in to listen. He said, "You were never the sum of your sins. You were always mine. I never stopped waiting." I couldn't believe it. He wasn't angry. He wasn't ashamed of me. He wept. He wept for me. For all the times I used myself like I was worthless. For all the pain I called pleasure. For all the moments I felt unseen and sold myself anyway. He had been there every single time, silent, grieving. And then he showed me. He held out his hand, and a vision opened up around me at every age, every stage, and in every dark room, every bathroom stall, every crying fit after a shoot. I saw him there, in the corner, watching, not with disgust, but with tears. He had watched me destroy myself and never gave up. "Why didn't you stop me?" I asked. He answered, "Because love doesn't force, but love waits, and love calls back the lost." In that moment, I broke. Something inside me shattered, and I screamed not in pain, but in release. A scream that had waited a lifetime. And he caught me, not with hands, with himself. He embraced me in light, and I felt all the dirt, all the labels, all the shame wash off like ash in a storm. And then, through the glow, he whispered, "But now, you must choose." And I knew what he meant. This wasn't just an encounter. This was a decision. When Jesus said I had to choose, I thought I already knew the answer. Of course I wanted to stay. Of course I wanted to remain in that place where I finally felt clean, finally felt loved without being used. But he didn't just offer comfort. He offered truth raw, piercing, and personal. He lifted his hand, and before I could ask what was happening, a vision unfolded, not of my past this time, but of what my life could have been. Not a fantasy, not a dream, something real, something that had been possible had I listened to the quiet voice deep inside me, the one I drowned out for years. I saw a version of myself walking away from the industry before the first contract. I saw me working with broken young girls, helping them escape the very thing I once glorified. I saw my children gathered around me, their eyes full of trust and warmth. I saw a man beside me, not one who bought my body, but one who loved my soul. I saw ministry. I saw healing. I saw purpose. And then it faded. Tears poured from my heart again. "Why are you showing me this now?" I whispered. He looked at me with compassion that burned. "Because you still have a choice. You can return, or you can stay. But know this, if you return, it won't be easy. They'll mock you. The industry will laugh. Your old friends will call you crazy. But if you return and live as I've shown you, you will bring many home." Return? Go back? To the world I had left in a lifeless body on a hotel floor? He showed me the room. My body, pale and cold, lay motionless. Paramedics were entering. Someone had found me. There was still time, but I hesitated. I looked back at the gates of heaven, the music, the light, the freedom. Could I really walk away from all this? Would I even make it if I returned? Jesus stepped closer. "I will not force you, but if you choose to go back, I will be with you. Every second, every breath, and Mary will watch over you, as a mother does." And then, he said something I will never forget. "You were used by the world, but I want to use you for heaven." That broke me, and that healed me. With one final look at him, I whispered the words I never thought I'd say. "Send me back." The moment I said, "Send me back," everything began to shift. The warmth, the light, even the angelic music, it all started to fade, but not in a terrifying way. It was like heaven was gently letting go, honoring the choice I had made with sorrow and with hope. Jesus placed his hand over my chest, and I felt something like a flame being lit deep inside me. Not a fire that burns, but one that would never go out. "This is my spirit," he said. "It will guide you. You will not return as you were. You will return marked." And then I heard Mary's voice again, soft and steady, like a lullaby that wrapped itself around my soul. "You are my daughter now. Tell them I am real. Tell them I love them." I wanted to say goodbye, to stay just a moment longer, but the choice had already carried weight, and it was happening. I was falling, not into darkness this time, but into heaviness, gravity, flesh, pain, and then, gasp. I jolted awake, choking, heaving, vomiting, bright lights above me, people shouting, a defibrillator cart nearby. I heard one of the paramedics yell, "She's back! We've got her back!" I couldn't speak. My throat burned, and my limbs felt like cement. But something was different. I could feel him still. The flame, the presence, it hadn't left. It was burning in my chest. A nurse leaned over me and said, "You're lucky to be alive." I wanted to say, "No, I'm not lucky. I was rescued." In the hours that followed, machines beeped around me, tubes fed into my arms, and doctors came and went, but none of them knew what had just happened. I lay there with tears running down the sides of my face, not from fear, but from reverence. I had seen what was real. I had touched heaven. I had seen Jesus and Mary, and I had been sent back. But as the hours turned into days, the weight of what I had to do next hit me. I wasn't just brought back to breathe again. I was brought back to testify. I didn't wait weeks. I didn't need therapy or permission. As soon as I could sit up, I asked for a pen and paper, not to journal my feelings, not to write another lie-filled post on social media. I wrote the truth, all of it, the overdose, the void, the judgment, the Virgin Mary, Jesus, heaven. And then I posted Ida in my old account, the one with hundreds of thousands of followers who only knew me from the outside. The account full of makeup tutorials, seductive poses, and behind-the-scenes photos no one should be proud of. I deleted everything, every last image, and in its place I posted, I died. I met Jesus. I saw heaven, and he told me I was never meant to be what the world turned me into. It was like an earthquake. Within an hour, my inbox was overflowing with mockery, confusion, desperation. People asked if I was high, if I lost my mind, if this was some weird PR stunt. But buried in the hate were messages that broke me. I'm in the same industry. I cry myself to sleep every night. Please tell me more. I almost owed last week. How do I find him? My daughter died from fentanyl. You gave me hope she saw something beautiful. I cried for hours reading those. I wasn't ready to be anyone's spiritual guide. I was still crawling out of the pit. But somehow, my story was already bearing fruit. And then came the hardest part, walking away. I left the industry completely, changed my name, cut off the agents, the managers, the fake friends. Some called me ungrateful, some threatened to expose me. I didn't care. I had already been exposed by the light of heaven. Nothing on earth could shame me more than what I had already seen and survived. But it wasn't easy. I had no savings, no home, no real friends, no church even. Just a fire in my chest that wouldn't die and a name that burned in my mind every day, Jesus. So, I walked into the nearest church I could find. A small, quiet Catholic parish. And I knelt, for the first time in my life, not for a photo, not for a pose, but to confess. And what happened next was something even I couldn't have expected. The confessional was dimly lit and smelled of wood polish and incense. I didn't even know the priest. I just walked in, trembling, not knowing if I'd be thrown out the moment I opened my mouth. When I knelt and began to speak, I couldn't stop crying. Every word came out like a flood me past, my sins, my shame, the overdose, the vision, the light, the Virgin Mary, everything. There was silence when I finished, a long, deep silence. I braced myself for judgment. Instead, the priest whispered through the screen, "You were chosen. Do you realize that? You were plucked from the pit. This is mercy. This is the love of a God who still wants you. Welcome home, daughter." He gave me absolution. And in that moment, I felt heaven flood my soul, not the vision this time, but the reality within. I knew now that what I saw wasn't just a gift, it was a mission. Jesus hadn't brought me back for comfort, he brought me back for battle. I left that church changed, not just spiritually but visibly. People looked at me differently now, not because of my past, but because of a glow they couldn't explain. I began speaking in recovery centers, in churches, to young women trapped in the same lies I once believed, that their value was in their body. That pleasure meant freedom. That shame was permanent. Every time I spoke, I saw their eyes widen when I said, I was a porn actress. I died. And heaven wanted me anyway. I told them about Mary, about her voice, her warmth, her pain for us, her mission. I told them about Jesus, how he weeps for every soul selling itself to the world, waiting for just one whisper of surrender. And I told them the truth that shattered me and rebuilt me. You are not what they called you. You are not what you've done. You are what heaven says you are. And heaven says you are worth dying for. This is why he sent me back. To tell you. To tell the lost. To tell the ones hiding in shame under filters, followers, and fake joy. Heaven is real. Jesus is real. And he wants you.